Well, welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today's pretty much of a rainy Wednesday, but I actually did see a couple rays of sun come out, but it's kind of a little dreary day, and it's sort of slowing down some things in our projects. But you know, today I got some things. We've had a storm come through the last couple of days, and we've had a few trees fall down, and then there's been a walnut tree that's over, which is what I'm going to work on today. It's leaning over a wall that's been built, probably could be 100 years old. I'm not sure when they built this wall along the creek bed, but it's leaning right against the wall, and I'm gonna have to tear down part of it. I mean, this wall is probably 2 feet, 3 feet thick as far as the width of it, and so I'm gonna have to tear it down, probably half of it, so I can get the chainsaw in to be able to knock down this walnut. But as I'm doing that, you know, I was coming in the field, and you know, we got right now our privets in full bloom, and so I was just going to take a picture of the privet. And you know, I don't think there's any bees. The update on all the swarm traps I mentioned on the last video, and all the activity, and what I ended up with one swarm. And you know, I was hoping for a little more, but I'll take the one swarm. I'm happy about that. The second time I caught a swarm in that location. It's not the one I'm gonna go to. I went to it yesterday, this one, and it had maybe 1 or 2 bees flying around it, but you know, and I don't think there would be much activity today, but I just wanted to take a picture going to it of the privet along which side is it? The north side of the field. And then I'm going to go to that walnut tree, which is on the opposite side. It's about 100 yards from the swarm trap, and we're going to do a little work there. We've been working on trying to get a laser put on our Norwood, and I may also work a little bit on that. And I got a few more cedar logs because we're just waiting for a few things. And while I got this blade on there, you know, my plan is when I start doing some hardwoods, I want to get a fresh blade. But the blade I have on there, I did a couple pine, and so there's still some life in it, and so I figure I'll just do a few cedar logs. But I don't know if I'm gonna, probably not video the cedar logs right now. I've had an issue over the weekend. My computer kind of crashed, and so I'm sort of out of sorts with the computer, and I got a new motherboard coming within a few days, and so hopefully by the time you see this video, I'd have my computer up and running. But since the weekend, I haven't really had access to much to do anything. But I'm gonna film today and some of the things we're doing, and hopefully you can come along and join us. But I'm going to ride along the privets on the north side of this field. I never realized, you know, when you just don't focus on stuff. But now that I've been doing honeybees, I've been really focused on. I didn't realize there was this much privet, and you know, I hated that we've had some gloomy weather the last couple of days, because now it's in peak season for the privet and for the honeybees. But I just got a lot of rain. But I think today's the last day for rain. But anyways, I'm gonna start the 4-wheeler and go down and just take a quick glance at the swarm trap and see if there's any activity, and then I'm gonna shoot across the field to that walnut. I mean, a couple of years ago, I didn't even know privet bloomed. They got some beautiful flowers, especially when they're in full bloom this time of year. And here's coming up on this walnut tree, it's the swarm trap. Doesn't look to be much activity. But we're going to shoot across the field to the location of the walnut. It's somewhere over there. Has a little bit of life to it, but it just really needs to come down. We'll take a look over here. You see the rock wall. I always got to watch out, and I've ripped more pants with the barbed wire that's in these woods that you just ain't expecting. But people used to live here years ago. There's the creek, part of the creek that goes into Meadowcreek, and Meadowcreek goes into the Red River. But here's the wall, here's the Walnut. See over back. So I got to go down a ways, but I got to take part of this right here wall out so I can get the chainsaw done, and then I'll put the wall back up. Kind of a historical wall. I'm not sure who built it and when, but it could be quite a few years old. There's some places where it's got gaps in and has already broken, but you can see this tree just is leaned over and the branch is broken off there. You can see it, and even maybe there, and it's just dead and sort of really, I mean, in one instance it's not really bothering much. But at the same time, it's a decent sized walnut tree. I think it's about 17 inch in diameter. So I'm going to work on this and maybe cut it down and try to deal with some of the branches and get them out of the way. And then I'm going to go to the sawmill and get that cedar log on and do a few cuts so we could work on, I can work on that laser level and try to get that fine tuned. So that'll help out in doing our cuts. But so, you know, stick around and join us. We got some work to do. It may be raining off and on, but you know, we'll see what we can get done. I got a lot of little rocks in the center here. Okay. Unfortunately, as I'm taking this wall down, they got a lot of little rocks in the center here. That's going to make it fun putting it back together. I was kind of hoping there would just be a bunch of big rocks stacked on one top of one another. But it'll be a little bit of work. So I guess as I'm doing this, I could, you know, I said there was that storm, and it knocked down a walnut that at the base it was about 12 inches in diameter and about 9 inches on the other end. And I was working on that yesterday and cleaning it up, and when I cut it off the stump, there was like 8 inches of sapwood and 12 inches of wood. Well, it kind of was all blog, where the heartwood and the brine. And so it was like 4 inches this way in diameter, and just 4 inches, but it was 6 to 7 inches that way. So I'm thinking maybe I can make a fireplace mantle out of it or something. We'll see how it turns out. Been having issues with a lot of sapwood. I had that cherry tree that I cut out of the garden that I haven't yet been able to deal with, and that had a lot of sapwood. But we also had a sycamore that was about anywhere about 28 inch diameter to 30 inch sycamore tree fall down. And so we may get that log and do some quarter sawing on that one. And you know, see how that turns out. And there was a hickory log that fell down about 16 to 17 inch diameter, and you know, I may quarter saw some of that. At least can be turned into firewood, but I was hoping it was an oak. But we have a pretty big oak tree in our front yard, right at the end of our driveway, right next to the road, that is dead, and that's needing to come down. And back in the day, I had some climbing gear. Didn't use it a whole lot, but I ended up, through all the years of moving and whatnot, lost that in the shuffle. So we had to purchase some climbing gear, and maybe in a couple weeks, I may film me going up, because I got to top it off. We got a power line we got to contend with, we got a road, we got a fence, a barbed wire fence on the opposite end of the road, opposite side of the road. And then there's another walnut tree that I found on a property that is dead, and it's at the base, it's like 28-inch diameter, and it doesn't go up too high before it branches off about 3 feet, and then the one main branch is about 20-inch diameter, so it's a nice walnut if it's still solid in the middle, but it's right next to a major power line. And so I'm going to have to climb that and top that off so we could try to get that walnut. So we got a lot of big projects ahead of us, a lot to get to some trees and some logs. Like this one, it's all going to be a little bit of work to get to some milling logs, but I guess that's all part of the game. You didn't see that, did you? I learned throughout the years, the older you get, the more clumsy you get. At least for me, anyways. And I've been starting to do a few stretches in the morning because it's starting to get into climbing trees again. I'm not as flexible as I used to be. So I've been trying to do some stretches. It's always good to stretch, especially when you're after 50. It just ain't fun to do. Or who's got the time to do stretches in the morning? But there is a benefit. I wish there was another way. Ibuprofen, maybe. I don't know. And we know ibuprofen's not good for your stomach. I take a little poke root. Poke root helps with inflammation. It also helps with tick bites. Lisa, she got Lyme disease when she's been having issues with ticks. She had Lyme disease and alpha-gal. Alpha-gal is being allergic to mammal meat, and like beef, pork, milk. And for the longest time, she couldn't eat any of those, or she got an allergic reaction from a tick bite. And we have a chiropractor in town who, Mr. Holt, who is able to, he knows how to do acupuncture, and he learned, he's one of very few in the, definitely in the state, who knows how to do the acupuncture. And they just stick a little needle in your ear when he pinpoints the field, the energy field, or I don't know, however the Lord makes us, we're a bundle of energy. Well, yeah, sometimes we don't feel like we are, and he's able to tap into the right one to know where the allergic reaction is. And she had to keep this pin in her ear for about 3 weeks, and then once they took it out, you just slowly introduce yourself back to mammal. And her and Wayne also had alpha-gal, and they both are healed from it. So that's a good thing for those who may be allergic. They're not going to tell you about this. They want you on medicine and want you allergic to these things for the rest of your life. I think there's an agenda with beef and with products like that. So just know that if you do get alpha-gal, there is a cure. The Lord always has a cure. It may not be 100%, but it worked for Lisa and Wayne. And a few other folks. But the first time when she got Lyme disease, an herbalist we know in Alabama, Daryl Patton, you can find him, the Southern herbalist, and he grew up under Tommy Bass, who was the grandfather of herbs in the South, and he's a wealth of information on herbs. And he suggested when Eliza contacted him to take poke root. Take poke root. Get the root of poke and put it in, I think it's 100 grain alcohol, vodka, and let it sit for a couple weeks, and then just start taking a drop at a time underneath your tongue, and work your way up, because some people can handle more, some less, because you know, eating too much poke can give you some issues. And I take a little bit of poke for it because it's good for inflammation. But there's a lot to learn in case you're in some situations, and you know, modern medicine sometimes is a little too modern. You just sometimes need to get back to the basics, because that helped my wife when we went to the doctors, and our doctor here in Mountain View said to make sure that the doctors, when she had the reaction with the tick bite and alpha-gal, make sure that they do a tick-borne disease test, and they absolutely refused. They didn't believe that's what it was, and they gave her this test, that test. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with her. They wanted to give her a psychological test, and yeah, she totally declined that. And so finally they were able to release us, and we went to Dr. Perro in Mountain View, and you know, he did the blood test, and sure enough, it was a tick-borne disease that they refused to do in Little Rock because they just didn't think that's what it was. Well, that's what it was. So sometimes a little piece of knowledge can go a long way. That's one thing I always pray to the Lord for, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because I know I don't have a lot of it. But He does it all. He's all in all and knows all. So it's good to go to Him, the one who is knowledge. Well, we're getting close. Taking it down is not the hard part. Putting it back up may be a little harder. All right, I gotta go over here. Watch this acrobat. Oh yeah. Ta-da. All right, that should be plenty. Okay, I think that'll work. All right, here it goes. Gotta get this vine out of my way. that wasn't bad. Oh boy, I almost had a leaf in the way here. Glad that didn't mess it up. Did you see that one thing? Well, I should have had my hard hat on. I knew everything was leaning that way, so I didn't run back and get it, but wear your hard hat. So I'll get the stump is, well, from bark to bark, it's about, let's say 17 inches that way. Got about 19 inches that way. There's a little bit of sapwood, but I'm pretty pleased. There's a nice solid, I mean, it looks like this is a nice solid walnut. So I'm pretty pleased with that. We got it up at the crotch. You know, we're looking about 10.6. So this should be a pretty nice log for the mill. But it missed the four-wheeler. Hopefully my other camera got that, and next time I'm gonna wear my hard hat. I forgot all about it. I got a lot of things that on my mind, and safety first. Okay.